We have Ahmed Buhari here in the studio to talk to us more about this. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Let's add to that too that Ahmed Buhari is a presidential hopeful.
Yeah,
we needed to
that's true.
emphasize that.
Yeah,
good to see you.
Yes, very sensitive, really, what is going on, especially between these two religious bodies.
Yes,
should this even be happening in the first place?
It's quite sensitive, and so when I was invited to speak on this, I was skeptical because no matter how hard you try to make Nigerians understand that the real problem here is not hate, it's fear. Like I keep saying, my favorite quote is, hate is not the first enemy of love, it is fear, because fear destabilizes our ability to trust. And so when we don't have that ability to communicate with each other, fear has been fostered. I would have expected, instead of both bodies speaking about different things from different angles, I would have expected that the CAN and the JNI had sat down together to iron out how to find solutions to the problem. We shouldn't make this about a media war. And for those of us that are on the receiving end, we should be asking ourselves, how best can we handle the situation? Because when fire starts burning, you don't know where it stops. So this is a situation that happened in Benue. That some time ago it happened in Kaduna State, and some time ago we were having the Boko Haram situation in the northeast. This is what I'm thinking in my head. If this has happened in Benue, I would have expected that the people that talk about this the most or be concerned the most are the neighboring states. I would have expected the governors of the neighboring states, whether Ebonyi, whether Enugu, whether Kogi, whether Nasarawa, find a reason to quickly go see this governor and say, this is a security problem. It's happening in Benue today. It could spread to our states. I would have even expected someone like the Lagos State governor, who is very far away, to say, how can I help you? I have been able to manage security to a certain level in my own jurisdiction. Do you want help? I could send consultants. Let's see how we can resolve this problem. And then we could actually be able to start letting people understand that for them to think that Fulani herdsmen represent Muslims, it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. We see a lot of Fulani herdsmen that move from one point to the other, and in most cases, they don't even practice any religion. And when they go to these villages to attack, they do not select the Muslims from the Christians.
So in addition to the issue of fear, there is a tendency to think or to have this belief that, look, it's their problem, it's not our problem. Until, of course, it gets to your doorstep, and then it becomes everybody's problem. And then there's a knee-jerk reaction to it. Let's tackle that point of fear.
Yes.
Is that what is prevailing in every aspect of our lives, that we've not really been able to solve the problem, and then we ignorantly think it's an ethnic, it's a religious problem that we're facing?
Exactly. So we've allowed ourselves to be consumed by fear because we do not have that, we've not created those platforms where we can communicate with each other and understand that we're more of the same than different. I'll give you an example. If the body language from the presidency was right from the beginning of all of this crisis, I'm sure would have averted it to a good degree. So that everybody, regardless of your religion or ethnicity, starts becoming to understand that this is a general problem. I don't think if a bomb is thrown into this place, it's going to select whether I'm a Muslim or you're a Christian. It's just going to hit at everybody. This is how I wanted to start thinking. So the two major issues, unfortunately, as how we've posed it, which is, of course, ethnicity on one side and religion on the other side, I think there's just two things. Economy on one side, yes, and security on the other side. Those are the two things that we're facing here. Why does the herdsman have to move down to the south with his cattle? It's not for any reason but to sell. He wants economic benefit. And to shock you to know that most of the cattle that the Fulani man moves with, he doesn't own all of them. He probably owns just maybe 1/10 of the entire herd. And the rest of it are owned by people like you and I who want to invest in this business. Now we're saying this old culture, this old tradition of you moving around as nomads, which is a culture,
is not sustainable.
It's not sustainable with our current terms. With our current times, rather. So we start making them understand that, do you know that for the fact that you want economic viability, we could actually have a better plan for you? And some people will say, oh, don't interrupt with culture. It's how we've always done this. But I tell you, sometime in this country, we're killing twins. If that had continued, we never had P Square, for example. But this is serious, because at some point in this country, we were killing albinos. If we're saying now a cultural practice that we have always had is no more sustainable, cannot fit into the system because of fear, because of agitations, because of our inability to understand ourselves, because there are more people now and the land didn't increase.
So in the light of that, would the cattle colonies be the present day solution to this present day problem?
I have have looked at both options right now, which of course, one, the Fulani men will tell you it isn't us doing these killings, for example. They deny some of the killings. It's not us. We're not responsible for this. Fine.
Like the JNI is saying.
Like the JNI is saying. Fine. So the best way to resolve this problem is, I believe you should get the cattle herders off the roads, put them in ranches. You see, when you put them in ranches, there are lots of benefits. Whether you're going to be milking the cows more hygienically, because when they move with the cattle, what happens? They actually try as much as possible to reduce.
Yeah, yes. But those that have the opportunity to talk to some of these herdsmen would tell you that once you raise the issue of ranching, the option of ranching, that they're not, the herdsmen would not even be used to it. They don't even want to hear it. They are used to the nomadic way of rearing their cattle. And then you mentioned two factors, really very important factors of economy at the crux of this, and then security as well, which of course is the responsibility of any government, because it has a legal duty to protect a life and of course a property of its society. So what should the government be doing for relief? Because maybe whether we like it or not, it could be either via action or inaction of the government that is making these religious bodies to come out, because both of them, in their separate words, are saying that the perpetrators have to be prosecuted, security has to be improved.
The perpetrators have to be prosecuted. We can't even identify the people. This is what I'm saying again. Get these herders off the road. Let's enlighten the herders. Let's enlighten Niyat Allah. Let's enlighten JNI. Let's enlighten Khan. That this situation, this problem is not a religious, neither is it an ethnic problem, but it's a breakdown of law and order. It's a breakdown of security apparatus, and it's also a way we can actually appeal to all parts of the divide to understand that we can actually work together and become even richer. For me, I just think if there's economic viability, there will be no need for anybody to fight. The fact that there's hunger in the land, it just makes everybody feel I don't care about anything else. Every Fulani man who moves around with his cattle is doing it because he believes that is the best way to get it done, to get money, to grow his cows, to get them feed. And then we are saying now, there are better ways to do it.
You're suggesting that, yes, the herdsmen should be given an option of ranching, let them understand the need for it. So who should be doing it? The government. If, yes, the government should be doing it. Many would tell you that it's a private business. Herdsmen is a private business, just like every other form of agro.
Absolutely. I have never suggested that the government does this. I am suggesting that my friend in Akwa Ibom, who already has some land to himself, can actually say, let this my land be the point where all the ranching for cattle happens. I would tax this cattle, I would milk this cattle, I would have a proper abattoir system, I would actually have a proper collection of the dung to transform it into gas, for methane gas, where you can use for running up some of our activities, energy and all of that. And this is how I wanted to start thinking. And the Fulani headsman gets to start thinking, oh wow, so I can actually be richer than I am already. And of course, who wouldn't want that to happen?
So now, can you give what you don't have? Or is it possible that there are people who can actually enlighten and educate these people, but they just refuse to for other reasons?
Okay, those other reasons is what I wouldn't know what it is, but I think we should, as a matter of urgency, constitute an institution that's going to start enlightening people. Whether it's going to be a committee that's going to enlighten people to understand that, look, this is not about trying to change your culture or trying to undermine your...
Or trying to take over your land.
Or your life, or trying to take over your land, as the case may be. Because some people think, in fact, there's this conspiracy theory that if they come have their colonies here, they're going to try to Islamize us at some point. And I am thinking in my head, in Lagos, for example, we have colonies of Hausa people, we have colonies of other tribes, colonies of Igbos and things like that. How have they managed to change their... It doesn't happen.
That means somebody is not putting that point out.
Exactly. That's the communication. And so because there's so much divide that we have created because of our mindsets, we have unfortunately made fear to become the dominant factor in all of these discussions. Okay,
so what should religious leaders be doing instead?
Instead of fighting each other now, because that is what the JNI and CAN are doing, further complicating the issues.
Yes, especially the Sultan. I want to make a point. The Sultan of Sokoto, who is known to be a patron of Miyetti Allah, of course, one of the leaders of the JNI, meaning that somehow there is the mix of religion in this. So what should they be doing? Meaning, because we know that if the leaders, religious leaders who wield a lot of power in Nigeria, talk to their people, things could be better.
First of all, anybody can be a herder. And the Sultan of Sokoto can be a patron in Miete Allah group and things like that, that doesn't make it an Islamic group.
I'm talking about JNI.
For example, you ask whether JNI and they can, what should they be doing in a situation like this? I expect they lock themselves up in a room and proffer solutions, not go on media and, you know, heat up the polity. I personally think that going to the media to heat up the polity doesn't do anybody any good. If you are religious bodies, and for any religious body, from how I understand it, the first primary duty is to foster peace, unity. Togetherness, integrity. But if we're not able to find those kind of bodies doing this, I think we should be thinking of squashing them. But in reality, I expect that both of them will lock themselves up in a room, discourse, and find how they can keep this country safe and in peace. If they're not doing that, I don't know what they're doing.
So now, when the CAN leadership says this is a genocide going on in this country,
yes,
how does that further exacerbate the issue at hand? And you know, just listening to you, I'm just thinking in my head, this is why we should be thinking about young people taking over this country. Because, okay.
Okay, I'll be, I'll be honest with you.
Okay,
my generation is not interested in all of these fights. I know that there is...
What would you be interested in?
Peace, economic progression.
How do you achieve it? Okay.
The only way we can move forward is if we can leverage on, I've spoken about it, if we can leverage on our comparative economic advantages. Those comparative economic advantages is what exactly I'm trying to explain to you with the ranching. Some people will say, well, let the ranches and the colonies stay up north. But I tell you, from the analysis that we had recently with my friends in the southern part of the country, beef is even more consumed in the southern part of the country than in the northern part of the country. We have more parties, we have more celebrations, we like them big chunks and all of that. So this Fulani has meant the primary reason why they come down south is to sell. If the reason you come down south is to sell, and your problem is I want to move around to get food and water, we'll tell you, put them here. We'll get you and I can become grass growers to supply these ranches. You and I can become dairy farmers to milk from those cows, and we pay these people. They will make more money. The country grows bigger.
So our leadership at all levels, they just seem not to recognize the economic value, advantage that, you know, could come from this. Okay, I think we'll have to leave it there, Ahmed. Incidentally, Ahmed is also Buhari. Ahmed Buhari, it's good to have you on the show. We look forward to having you. Yes, indeed. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. We'll be looking at the, what has come out from the National Bureau of Statistics about Nigeria's inflation rate. Stay with us.